Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience, a motivational podcast relating to the insurance brokerage industry and business in general. And now, here's Bill Levinson.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. Here we are, 2025. It is our first episode of the year. Yes, I know I'm very late. I'm about 2 to 3 weeks late. We have our annual Agent Expo. I'm not making any excuses, but our expo is around the corner now, only 6 weeks away, April 11th. So we're getting prepared for that. It's been crazy here since January 1. But I did promise everyone at least 12 episodes a year. And we are doing that in my first episode of the year. Here we are sitting in the office on February 21st, 2025, like I said, and I have Mr. Grant Zimmerman joining us. So this will be a special episode. You'll walk away with a lot of nuggets. I know most of our listeners across the country, in fact, some even across the globe now, which is fantastic. I know a lot of you are agents, CPAs, financial advisors, estate planning attorneys. Some are just friends of mine from the gym, the networking groups, maybe the exotic car world, whatever it is. My goal, again, is you write down notes. If you learn something on a personal level, maybe it's industry related, doesn't really matter, right? If it's a nugget, and it's a win. So I would sit back, relax, listen. If you're on the treadmill, great. If you're driving in the car, wonderful. If you're sitting at home jotting down these notes or on a notes app, that's fine too. But again, the goal is walk away with nuggets to change and better your life, period. So with that said, we have Grant Zimmerman, like I mentioned, from Alloy Insurance Group. Grant, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Bill, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this and our conversation. And dude, I'll probably learn something today from you too. I always do.
Yeah, and same thing for me. That's why I love doing these episodes. You know, people say, "Oh, do you have advertisements and any sponsorship dollars?" And the answer is no. We don't accept a penny. I don't want anything. No reimbursement, no sponsorship dollars. It's about helping the audience. It's about helping guys like you, Grant, and girls. We have some great women guest speakers as well. And also it helps me tremendously. People don't see that, but yep. I walk away with nuggets. So it's just great. So let's just, I want to give everyone a 100-foot overview of Grant and where we are today. And I think, I'll just throw this out there and then I'll let you take the wheel, Grant, if you want to take us back. But I just want to say one more thing before you get started. What I want to share is, so I met Grant at our last expo, so last year's expo in person, and I was very, very impressed. He's a younger professional, family guy. In fact, we have a lot of mutual friends, which is just crazy. And as we get to know each other more and more, we find out we have more mutual friends and connections. Right. And he lives in a different part of Florida. So, but anyway, getting back on track, he really impressed me. And what's even more impressive than anything is most people, they dress the part, they look the part, they sound the part, but when you see the production behind it, and then, he's working with other agents and they're productive. And that's when you scratch your head and you say, wait a minute, this guy, he's got the whole package. Whatever he's doing, it's working and we're heading in the right direction, which is why I wanted him to jump on this episode. In fact, the first episode of the year. So anyway, Grant, if you can just take us back to day one, we'll go into first gear for a minute and just kind of share with the audience, maybe a little bit about, growing up and then how you got into this industry. Just take us back, if you will.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Midwest, small town in north central Illinois, about 5,000 people. And in 2016, I graduated college from a small school in Iowa. I've got degrees in accounting and finance. obviously they're kind of sitting on the shelf right now, but they have helped. But anyways, graduated in 2016. My girlfriend then, now wife, and I moved down to Florida. I got into the marketing business, was there for, I don't know, about 7 or 8 years, working with car dealers nationwide. I wanted to kind of mix it up. The business had gotten stale and I was ready to do something different. So there's a guy that became a really good friend of mine about 5 years ago. And he always told me, he was big in the insurance game actually, but he always told me, hey, if you ever want to do something different, you should definitely give insurance a look. It's just such a widespread, diverse industry. There's so many different ways that you can differentiate and serve people. And anyways, that time kind of came to be. So in, 2023, I think I formed my company in October 2023. Went through all the licensing, contracting, all that fun stuff, and then started writing policies right after the first of the year in 2024. So when I started the company, I didn't want to just do one thing. I didn't want to just focus on health insurance or ACA or Medicare. I didn't want to just do group business, and I didn't want to just do life and annuities. I figured that if we could serve a wider spread group or kind of be more of a solutions provider to the average person, then that would be better suited for our clients who become friends, and then also for the agents that work, through the Alloy brand. So we've done over the last year a pretty good job of that. Every day is totally a learning experience, and new things are coming our way and new products and everything else. But it's been a lot of fun. Just the whole experience of starting a company from that. And I think my background in just everything from being younger and playing sports and building teams and relationships that way has really translated to what I can do from a corporation standpoint and the leader. So for 25, a big focus is on growing a team and recruiting and scaling up. Especially now, I didn't want to be the guy who comes into the industry, knows a little bit, but not enough to really be a sound provider for the people who are joining the brand. I wanted to kind of take a year, really understand it, put some numbers up to say, hey, I can actually do this, and you can trust what I say because I've been there. So now we're kind of at that point, and I've got a few agents who have started with me, and we're in conversations with several more. So people who are, and these are people who have diverse backgrounds too. Some people have never been in the insurance space. Other people have been leaders in the Medicare space. Some people have been, life agents only that want to get into other avenues. So we're kind of becoming a good home for people who want to learn different parts of the industry and different products that they can put out there and kind of diversify not only their product lineup, but also their income streams. So it's been a lot of fun. Still learning every day.
Yep. That's right. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I'm still learning every day. And I feel like, as soon as you say, oh, I got this, that's when things pass you by. Yeah. So it doesn't matter, how long you've been doing, especially in this business, how long you've been doing anything. You have to have that open mindset, or else I feel like you might as well wrap it up. You're done. What I just want to point out a couple things, especially, and I think it's important. We have over 24,000 agents all over the country, different age groups. But what's really interesting to me with your story, number one, you came from a totally different industry, but you were on the marketing side, which we all know insurance, life, health, whatever it is. It could be group. It could be, I know you're working on a premium finance case now. But whatever side it is, number one, you've picked it up in a relatively short time. You've figured it out. And we have a lot of agents, yes, some are MDRT agents in their 60s and 70s, and they've been doing this their whole life. And they definitely have the gift to gab. And then we have a lot of younger agents, middle-aged agents, who get caught up in these MLM groups, especially the younger agents, where, they're under 17 different layers and they're focusing on final expense and they're getting advanced all these commissions. And then 2 years later, they're bankrupt or they're out of the business, and because they now have vector hits and they're not doing things the right way. So what I love about you and your company and what you've built, like I said, in a short time, you're doing things the right way. And this is proof that if you're right out of high school or college or whatever, 20s, 30s, 40s, doesn't matter, okay, that there is an avenue that you can take to do business the right way and learn this business and do very well, okay? And Grant is proof of that. So I love that story. Yeah, of course. And if you're an agent listening, okay, and you're they call some of these newer final expense agencies, I've heard the term brogencies or, something like that, but you can do it the right way. And that's why I wanted Grant on today. That was the purpose. And so anyway, if you want to team up as well, we're going to share his contact info when we're finished. So stick around. And then, like I said, too, if you're a prospect, looking into various products, he's a great resource. So basically all the above. And I just like how you kind of spun that. Grant, tell us the products that you do, or let's say the product type that you focus on. Like obviously health, you said you use, I'm sure, as a great door opener, life, and then group products as well.
Yeah. So any given day, my phone can ring or I can be calling, speaking with somebody about anything from a basic term policy to, we do a lot of IULs. Like you mentioned, we've got knowledge and the resources to handle premium financing. But it can also go the health insurance route too, whether it be under 65 or Medicare, and then quite a bit of group business, employee benefits, things like that. So every day is unique, and then add in, annuities and the new hybrid long-term care plans. I'm a huge fan of those. And I think that so many people just aren't aware of their options. And that's the case for almost every product that we offer. It's if a conversation doesn't end with, wow, I didn't know that we could even do that, or I didn't know that was an option, I don't know, 50% of the time, I'd be shocked. I think that there's so many new ways out there to be, whether it's asset protection through various annuities or, safe money growth and the tax advantage use later in life through an IUL, or just, the rates that are available now for term or guaranteed universal products. There's so much to it that people just aren't aware of, and you can't expect them to be aware of. That's what my job is. So that's one of my favorite parts of doing what I do every day is, to be honest with you. Just kind of surprising people and making them aware that, wow, yeah, this does exist and it doesn't cost you your entire net worth to be able to put this in place.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like, and that's the secret sauce right there. And that's what makes you valuable, not just to prospects, but to agents on your team. Because when you become the one-stop shop that people can rely on, right, and you're going to come up with the best solutions, that's priceless. And then the word gets out, and then referrals start coming in. And like I said, retail or wholesale with agents. That's the secret recipe, in my opinion. And you got that. And then if you don't have the answer, you know where to go to get it. So, which is also
without
key.
a doubt. Yep. Yeah, that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's where we come in. And obviously we're here to help Grant and all of his agents now and moving forward. So I know you mentioned we're not involved yet on the health insurance side, but what is your thought? Do you like that as a good door opener to then build a relationship, and then talk about other products, other types of products? What's your opinion?
It is, yeah, I think it is. If I had the choice of what I could market or work with every day, it'd be, the IUL and annuity style business. But there's a huge need out there for education on both the U65 and ACA and in the Medicare space. So if we can provide that education, then it just naturally kind of transitions into cross-sell opportunities, and you find out that people don't have the life insurance protection they need, or they've got a CD with $500,000 in it that's coming due in 2 months, and they don't know what to do with it. So yeah, it's a great way to kind of open the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. It's like whatever it takes, even if it's a lost leader, you have to
True.
get the word out and then build a relationship. And another thing I want to mention too, as we're on this topic, is Grant's work ethic, is unmatched. And I think that's what it takes to be successful. And I'll give you a quick example. He was in our office a few weeks ago. I mean, you had a client to see in South Florida, and that was what, like a 5-hour drive for you, 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, about 4 hours. Yeah.
Four. Okay, so 8 hours round trip in one day for one appointment. Okay, now the appointment turned out to be a multi-million-dollar premium finance case. But the point is,
Yep.
the work ethic, the drive is unmatched. And that's when you have that mindset, you'll do whatever it takes. I call it the scrappy mentality. It'll work. You make it work. You figure it out. And he's proven that. He was sitting in our conference room, and we were talking about it, just like I said, a few weeks ago. So I love that. And that's when you get the wins, and that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the door or the phone is closed on your face or hung up on or whatever, and you got to pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. But I guess
Definitely.
the point is, yeah, it's building those relationships, which is number one, and it has to be number one.
Yeah.
I think that I love everything you're talking about, and then just on the agency side, I know you want to build out that arm to work with agents and help other agents, basically to do what you're doing and kind of mirror
Mm-hmm.
that. So if anyone that's listening, or maybe they have a friend or whatever, family member, so basically you will work with them, go on appointments with them, make calls with them, and kind of share your secret sauce once they're appointed with you. Is that pretty much how it goes? The 100-foot
Yeah,
overview?
it is. It
Okay.
is. Yeah. And there's people who have come to us from other agencies that, they whatever happens and they look for a new home and they find it with us because of both the diversity in the products, but also the contract levels. From kind of the mentor who got me into the insurance space, he in his business was always a proponent of overpaying people, and having more of a career focused staff and team rather than, trying to pinch pennies on comp. So that's something that I've adopted too. Most people who come to us from somewhere else are actually giving themselves a raise too, because I'm not scared to, have a large compensation plan. And the good thing is, because of our early production and posting up some big numbers in the first year and a half, that's allowed us to secure some pretty good contracts with carriers. So they can come to us, have access to all the products at the highest contract levels, and all of a sudden they're happier and they've got much more knowledge on a wealth of different products rather than one or two things. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for newer agents who have come to us.
And that I agree 100%. And the training aspect to me is priceless. I mean, you can't pay
Yeah.
for that type of training.
Yeah, it's as
In
hands-on as that agent will allow us to get too. So many people are scared to ask for help, and that's the kiss of death in any industry, especially something sales focused like this. You don't know what you don't know, and why take that, or why not take advantage of the experience and knowledge of somebody who's already been there and done that, or at least experienced it to a degree. It takes time out of the equation, and that's something that we can't get back. So that's something that is huge for people, whether they're brand new or they don't, they were a final expense only agent and they're coming into this wanting to learn the IUL side or annuities or get into group benefits. It takes a lot to do that. So I feel like we can kind of shorten the learning curve on that and speed that up. And all of a sudden, you've got a much better repertoire of products and much more knowledge on who and how to go after when it comes to that.
Yeah, and that's literally priceless. I get text messages and direct messages and phone calls almost daily from friends of mine not related to our industry that say, Bill, I want to get into the business. I want to go get my license. Can I come work with you? And we're an IMO, we're a wholesaler. So the answer is no, you cannot come work with us, but I know agencies that I can introduce you to, and I feel like what happens, and this, Grant, but people get tied up with these MLM typical agencies where they're handcuffed, they're making 30 to 40% commission, and they're stuck, and then they get a bad taste in their mouth, and then they moved on to the next industry, and they just did all that for nothing. So I like this solution. I like what you're doing, and I also want to say, and you heard right from his mouth that the production, has proven the concept is working, right? And I'm the one that sees the production on the life and annuity side, and that's a fact. And just to take this further, just share with you, like on that premium finance case, what's the target premium roughly, just so everyone kind of has an idea. Like
on
just
one
a
of them,
ballpark.
it's about 790,000.
Yeah, so I think the proof is in the pudding. Okay, so he's a younger guy, he's got the knowledge, and he's writing the business already. So anyway, let's keep moving forward here. So we spoke about this too. You're doing this now a few years, right? Which is relatively a short time, especially to be where you are. So what, as far as knowledge, and this could be business related, personal. Do you like reading books? I mean, do you any YouTube channels or any podcast, anything that you're into that you can suggest for the audience, that maybe can help them? Either insurance related or maybe on a personal level, whatever it is.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge reader, but I've read probably all the basic common, popular sales or marketing books or leadership books that are out there. I'm a fan of Maxwell. I'd say most of kind of the outside knowledge, because when I started in the business, I just founded content, and a lot of it came from podcasts and YouTube channels and things like that. And it's really not any specific, person that I go to with that. It's really just industry specific. It's kind of an overview. And you can go into Spotify and you can find all kinds of different resources there. There's even things I found a good one the other day for group business and employee benefits and kind of the commercial side of the industry. So I wouldn't say that there's anybody that I kind of look forward to when a new podcast comes out. I just always have something playing, whether I'm going anywhere or, sitting at my office. I've always got something on with content, because you can pick up one or two things out of a 30-minute show that can be put into action immediately. And then all of a sudden, it works, and why not do that? So, and I think that just goes back to learning from other people's experiences. Why not shorten your learning curve? And that's exactly what I've done. And that's what I tell my agents to kind of focus on, that learn from other people too, not just me.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's exactly how I feel. I mean, you can say I have a 20-minute drive to work every day. So about 40 minutes round trip, and then typically go to the gym for an hour. And it's like, all right, do I listen to my favorite, music, my favorite songs, or am I going to throw, I like the audio books. I don't really have the patience and time to sit down and read a book, but I love the audio books. And if you can, and it's like if you can pick up one or two things, you're exactly right. And it was worth the 1 hour or the 30 minutes or whatever it is, right? That what are you going to learn from a great song, on Spotify or Pandora? That's how I look at it. Yeah. So, now it's a Sunday, I'm in the car cruising. That's a different story. And sometimes I still listen to podcasts, but either way, you got to constantly just keep filling the tank with great info. And then you pick up a few nuggets here and there. So yeah, I love that. I do the same exact thing. It's funny too. We talk about, relationships, doing the right thing, being a man or woman of your word. I think in even this day and age, like, people say, oh, that's like my father would tell me or my grandmother. it is even more important now with social media. I feel like everyone knows everything anyway, so you might as well do the right thing and be a great person and give back and just stand behind, your words. It's not rocket science. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because, we get calls, hundreds of calls daily. And I'm just thinking back when I met you, Grant, is, we had some conversations and some emails were exchanged and, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And, I hear this all day long. So you want to trust, but verify at the same time. And it turns out, and I just want to give you a plug real quick. I think it's important, but it turns out we have a mutual friend, Larry Zinn, who was actually on a prior episode, who runs one of the largest automobile dealership companies in the country. So, he was a guest speaker. And it turns out, he knew Grant, and I did ask him. I said, "Hey, Larry," I was like, "does the name Grant Zimmerman ring a bell?" Because I wanted to know, like, is this guy for real? When I just met you, and he came back to me and he tells it like it is, and he said, "Bill," he said, "100% legit, great guy," and that's all I needed to hear. And then I went back to Grant and I was like, "Well, yeah, we can do this, and this." So I guess, number one, that a big kudos to you, Grant, because, he tells it like it is. How he operates.
Yes, he does.
And I think number two, it's just a great learning lesson for the audience that, just imagine if Larry came back to me and said, "Oh no, you got to stay away from this guy," then the opposite would have happened. So I don't know. I just thought that, I wanted to bring that up, number one for you, number two for the audience, that, one little thing, one wrong turn or doing the wrong thing could come back and bite you, and it will. 99% of the time, it's going to come back and hurt you. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, no. Of course. Okay, so I want to just hit a few more bullets here, and then we can wrap this up. And then, like I mentioned, we'll share some of Grant's information to get a hold of him too. I think that's important. How do you feel about, especially like after COVID? I remember a lot of agents were so into meeting face to face at Starbucks and seminars, and then obviously everyone was forced to change, right? After 2020, 2021. What's your thought, like selling over the phone, Zoom versus like in person? Do you always try to go for the in-person meeting, and then, do you use a call or Zoom as a backup, or what's your thoughts on selling today?
Well, it definitely depends geographically, of course, but anytime that I can get FaceTime with somebody, and I mean in-person FaceTime, I think that is extremely valuable. And it's, of course, it depends on kind of the broad picture of what's going on and scheduling products, the degree of assistance this person needs, because there's people who, they'll write a huge case and they're 1,400 miles away, but they get it and it makes sense for them. There's other people who it doesn't, and it might, you might need to jump on Zoom calls. You might need to jump on an airplane and go. But, like that situation in South Florida a couple weeks ago, that was just such an interesting opportunity, and I wanted to be there. So, I was. But that's not to say that you can't get a lot done over the phone. I think it really just depends on who you're speaking with and what their needs are. And, everything's different and everybody's different, but I would definitely like being face to face as much as possible. And that's kind of always been my thing. Even back when I was in the marketing world, if I could get in front of a car dealer face to face, there was a dramatically higher chance that I'm going to leave with a contract, rather than just pounding the phones or trying to, get people on a Zoom meeting for 30 minutes to go through a product demo. Being face to face does, I think, increase the chances of doing business exponentially. So I'm a big proponent of that.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. But with that said, you're still going to come across some people that prefer, text messaging, phone call, an email link, whatever. So you have to be able to pivot. But yes, I agree. For the most part, especially on larger cases, larger clientele, the face to face is a slam dunk if you can get it. my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's all about building trust at that point and building a relationship, and God only knows what comes next from that. So yeah, it's worth it.
And then what do you, without giving out any your secret sauce, of course, but as far as like marketing and getting the word out and lead generating these days, do you prefer, cold, like just the cold phone call, the texting, the emailing, driving people to your website, social media? What's the game plan? Like what do you try to stick to for the most part? Or is it all the above?
It's got to be all the above,
Yeah.
as always, especially if you're going to paint a broad stroke with what's a new agent got to be great at. The answer is everything. But I've been kind of blessed to have a pretty strong warm market and a good network of people that built relationships with over the years. So I can go in and, a lot of it's making people aware of what I do and what I offer. And that's done via social media, phone calls, texts, of course. But there's some cases where we'll purchase leads. I try to keep that to a minimum, just because if we can stay busy without spending that money, then it just makes it easier to have a stronger, ROI on your time. So anyways, yeah, I'd say all the above is important. You better master it all, but if you've got a network, you can kind of shrink that focus a little bit.
Yeah. And one thing that you said, and it sounds so simple, but everybody needs to do this, is making people aware. Like everybody should know, and it doesn't matter what industry you were in before. Everybody needs to know. Hey, Grant, Bill, that's the insurance guru. Anything that comes up with health, long-term care, life, they have to remember you. You're their guy or girl. So I think. Yep, it sounds definitely simple, but yeah, you got to do that. I mean, you got to be proactive, and get the word out in any network, any group. So yeah, I think that's key.
You can't sell a secret. That's one of my favorite
right.
Scotty Felsted saying. You can't sell a secret.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And it sounds simple again, but a lot of agents aren't doing it. And we're on this mentor thing. I know you mentioned your mentor a few times. I think that it's very important to have a mentor. Could be a friend, a parent. It could be an upline GA. Maybe someone like you. But what's your take on that, especially for some of the younger, newer agents? Do you think that's important? And how did it help you, growing up in the business and learning?
It's very important. You can do it alone, but it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer to get anywhere. So for me, having somebody that I could go to, and dial a phone, get an answer very quickly, pretty much at any point in time, that's invaluable. And that's, a big reason why I was able to grow quickly and just from the product knowledge standpoint, because if you don't have that, you can go and sell something, but people aren't going to understand you. You're going to miss more than you make. So yeah, I mean, having Jeff at my disposal, and my dad has a great insurance mind. And then of course you guys being able to pick up the phone and just even run an idea past and make sure that I'm thinking about it correctly is extremely valuable. And that's something where I can call at 7:00 on a Friday night, and a lot of times, and Andrew will answer the phone, or RJ, or Josh, and that is, man, hats off to you guys. That's a big deal, because so many people don't have that level of service. Everybody's, the day ends at 5 and they're shutting the phones down at 4:30, and that's kind of ridiculous. But if you want to build a business like the one you guys have built, you got to do what you guys are doing. So I would,
thank you for that.
Yeah, it comes down to that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. You're right, and that's like, you hear this, oh, what's the secret, or what do I have to do to be successful? And it's putting in the time and the energy and the work. There's no shortcut around that. And you're right. I've heard agencies like yours that have summer hours. I mean, that's crazy, where they're closed on Fridays. And I'm scratching my head and I'm saying, well, that's why you're not growing, or
Yeah,
you're not at the level you want to be. Summer hours. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I never understood that, but yeah, that's
Yep.
why they're in the position they're in. So, yeah,
Well,
I
exactly.
appreciate. Yeah, yep. All right, just a couple other things here. And
Sure.
I think this is also important. When it comes to, you're a younger guy, obviously, technology, but as far as like having a website, social media, maybe you do like a monthly e-blast or weekly e-blast. How important do you think
hmm
that stuff is for an agent these days?
It's very
And
important,
yeah,
and it comes down to the building of the brand and your marketing. Yeah, you've got to be able to be found and seen, and you got to get a good message out there that resonates with the people who are looking at you. So, yeah, I think that that's something that nobody should skip over, and it doesn't mean you've got to be some social media guru or some digital marketing, specialist. You can find people to help you, of course, but it doesn't need to be overly done. I'd say the simpler and the easier it is to navigate sites or get in contact. That's all that stuff exists for. It's just to drive a conversation. So make it easy for somebody to get on the phone with you is what my suggestion would be.
yeah, yep. And I feel like you're right. And how many leads, how many sales have been closed just from a friend on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram
Mm.
that said, "Hey, I need a policy," or where, "Hey, is there a free life insurance policy called return of premium term? Does that exist?" And you say, "Yeah, it exists." And then boom, you
Yep,
made a sale from someone you probably didn't even know. It's
definitely.
crazy. Yeah. So I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier. You can't keep it a secret. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And even if your Facebook page has 400 friends and family members, and it's not business related, so you make a post here and there to talk about, hey, don't forget, I'm the insurance guru, and
hmm
that's when the questions come
Yeah.
in. So you got to
Yeah.
be smart with that. Leverage
Yeah.
anything you can.
Facebook
That's
and,
how I look.
and definitely Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn are the best free billboards you've got access to. So you might as well use them.
Yep, I totally agree. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. This is my favorite part here towards the end. So when we talk about like it could be personal stories, business stories, anything that you could share, that helped you. It doesn't matter, like I said, personally or maybe in business or with a policy. Anything that you can share with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick out just one thing, especially these days when I've got so much on my mind. But I'd say relationships need to come above all. And that starts with being a good person and doing the right thing. But you never know who is going to need your help or whose help you're going to need in the future. So if you kind of live with that in mind, probably end up in a better spot. But for example, my wife and I built a new house in, I don't know, 2022, and just recently, the guy that did all of our plumbing, he came to me and asked kind of what I did. We stayed in touch a little bit through it, but he was looking at options to kind of enhance what he was already doing from an investment strategy and complement a Roth. And we looked into IUL options, and all of a sudden, we just delivered a pretty considerably large IUL policy to him last week. And dude, I would have never expected that the guy who I hired to do some plumbing work would become a client, and that's happened in a lot of areas of my life. Um, you never know where that business is going to come from. I'd say one thing that will also help people, especially if they have hobbies or things that they like to do, my outlet for stress and just fun and turn my brain off for a minute is to go ride, or if I can catch a race in motocross world and go and just, there's been so many friendships developed through that. Those also turn into people who will do business with you. I think that, obviously it's easier to do business with a friend than a stranger 1,000 miles away. So, if you can focus on that and just be a good person, market what you do, help people understand that you've got unique products and ways to help them that they might not be able to get elsewhere or might not be aware of. I think that's, kind of key. But anyways, story specific, I don't really have anything too crazy at this point in time that comes to mind, but I don't know,
No,
man.
those are
Just be a
great.
good person, have fun, and you never know what's going to come your way.
Yeah,
This
no, those
business
are
has a
great.
lot of
Yeah,
of
keep going,
freedom
Phil.
to it, and that's something that, in a newer agent, you got to be careful of. It'll either help you propel yourself to your goals if you use that freedom properly, or it'll eat your lunch if you don't give the business the attention that it needs. So that's something that I try to help people with. I don't want to ever be a mandator or anything like that and tell people that they can or can't do something. But if you really want to move down that line to getting where you want to be faster, then I think, there's no substitute for putting in the work and having those conversations. But I think it's important too, every once in a while, give yourself a little taste of freedom and go do something that you enjoy on a Wednesday. Go play around golf on a Wednesday afternoon and do what you want to do, because eventually we hope to get to the point where the company is growing and it's large in multiple offices, and you've developed other leaders, and that's the true business aspect of the industry that we're in. So anyways, it's just a lot of management and effort in the early times, or in the early days, and then you can really write your own ticket and accomplish some pretty wild things in a relatively short amount of time. There's some pretty incredible stories out there right now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome, and those are great stories that everybody could learn from. Even, and you brought up the motocross story. And it turns out I have another friend of mine that I know from the boating world, 5 hours away from here, and I found out a few weeks ago that that's Grant's neighbor, and
Yep.
they go riding together and hang out together, and so it's again reputation, brand, doing the right thing. And then what I love, the story you mentioned, Grant, is how you're out dirt bike riding. We're at a race, you meet someone, or everybody gets close, and they all want to know, oh, what do you do? What do you do? And you sold a few policies that way, and then the plumber, and then it's just spreading the word. And then another thing I want to mention and piggyback off what you said is the effort. Being disciplined. You're right. There's no one over your shoulder. That's another point why you should work with an agency, especially in the beginning. But you got to be self-disciplined. And, Grant mentioned how 7 p.m. you'll find someone here that picks up the phone to help you. You got to do the same thing for your prospects and clients. Then they need help.
Absolutely.
They just got an annual statement. You got to do the same thing, right? There's no shortcuts to this business at any level. So anyway, last question, Grant, and then we'll let you go. I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I want you to share contact info if you can, and we'll put a bow on this.
Of course.
So my favorite part, going back 10 years. So the younger Grant, when you were like 20, say right out of high school, before college, whatever, at college, if you went back 10 years, anything that you would have done differently to better yourself where you are today, in 2025, anything that you wish you knew 10 years ago, you can share with the audience.
Man.
What could be anything.
Yeah, shoot, if I was looking back 10 years ago from this point in time, or 20 years ago, whatever, I wish I definitely would have known this industry sooner, is one big thing, because it's been such a blessing. But the biggest thing I'd say is just, if I'm talking to my younger self, it's, be willing to get knocked down, be willing to take steps backwards, and treat it as a learning experience, and not everything, a failure isn't a failure unless you don't do anything about it, So I don't know. I think just being open-minded to not, be boxed into what you think a career looks like, I guess, is the one good way to put it. You can build yourself your way, and a lot of times it turns out a lot better than what you could have imagined. So
I love that.
That'd be
There's no blueprint.
my take.
There's no blueprint is what I heard. Yep. You're exactly right. This industry could be the best kept secret in the world or the worst nightmare. And it's what you make of it. It comes down to you.
Yeah.
I heard that many years ago. And for us, it was the best kept secret, but it's because obviously we're putting in the time and doing the best we can. All right. So Grant, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Your website, your email address, whatever you want to share with the audience.
I'll put my cell phone out there. That's fine.
Okay.
Call me, text me. Number's 815-910-7501. My email is gz@alloyinsurancegroup.com. And we are located here in Ormond Beach, Florida. So if anybody's ever in the area and wants to grab breakfast, lunch, dinner, let me know. And if there's anything I can do to help or coach, you got my time.
I love that. Don't keep it a secret, just like Grant says. And I'll just let everyone know, even if you're not in Florida, you're appointed in a lot of states outside of Florida too.
Yeah.
So you can still reach out. Am I right? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Zoom's an amazing connector, so it doesn't have to be, we don't need people shoulder to shoulder anymore. That's for sure. We've got
back to question
different
5.
ideas and ways to. Yeah, definitely. A lot of ways to do it. So yeah, anybody that's looking for a good home, we can definitely help you with that.
Awesome, Grant. And I just want to say, really, I appreciate you taking the time to help our agents and the audience. And just, coming out here and being open and honest, it means everything to me and everyone else. So, all right. Thank you again. And
you're
also,
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. My pleasure. We'll do this again. Our expo, don't forget RSVP, April 11th, 2025. Let's have a great quarter one. Things are off to a good start, and I hope the same for you. We're here to help in any way we can. Thanks for listening, and thanks for sharing the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. Great selling, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for the Bill Levinson Experience. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested. You may also visit levinsonandassociates.com and all of Bill Levinson's social media pages for more information.